Digitalization is the very unique chance you have maybe once in your lifetime to question everything. At the end of the day, it's not a technology question. We talk about a change process, and the change process starts here. How do you win the next generation, which is not only culture-wise following you, but also from technical point of view that they're able to lead the organization into the next stage. It's my role to build the roadmap to the future in a more and more digitalized world where market changes are coming and customer requirements are changing faster and faster and faster.
This is CIOnet TV. My name is Hendrik Dekkers. I'm here today with Nino Messaoud, who is the Global IT Director at BW Paper Systems. Very warm welcome, Nino.
Thank you.
Nino has more than 27 years of experience as a head of IT, CIO, CDO, national, international companies in 3 different industries: diamond business, furniture business, and now in the machine manufacturing business here at BW Paper System, who is a division of Barry Wimmeler. And they are in the portfolio of creating machines for stationery, for passports, for money, for book on demand, binding lines, digital print finishing, RFIDs, many different printing solutions, and have more than 100 locations and companies around the globe. Good. Nino, thank you for taking the time. I first wanted to go in to the ecosystem that you have built here at BW Paper Systems. Can you talk about what was the challenge and why and how did you build this ecosystem?
Probably the why is the most important thing. I'm truly convinced about the fact that no company, independent of the size, independent of the market, independent of the money in the background, will survive in the future without having strong collaborations. Collaborations means that you look beyond the borders of your own organization, that you take your suppliers as well as your customers with you together on a digital journey to achieve common processes. So which means processes starting from the supplier, going through your own organization and ending up with your customer, and to ease the life and the process handling costs of your suppliers as well as of your customers. That's binding your suppliers and your customers to your own services, because from the second you provide them value-added services, why should they leave you? Point number 1. And point number 2, it's decreasing process handling costs, because when I, for an example, check automatically a warehouse of a supplier if a certain spare part is available, and the spare part is available, I can initiate already completely automated the follow-up processes, which means send me a quote, I reply to the quote, I reserve the part, I organize the transport to the customer. In parallel, I can check with my field service who is available to support the customer to build in the spare parts, which guy with what type of skills is available. That is what I talk, and what I mean is when I talk about ecosystems, taking everything together into one network, and don't see yourself isolated, don't see your supplier isolated, don't see your customer isolated. That's the ecosystem. But
that's quite a challenge, because you have more than 100 different companies, you say, that are in different locations around the world with different systems, I can imagine. And still you want to build with your clients and your suppliers one platform. Yeah,
but you can boil it down to some basics. So one point is that, first of all, we are talking about Paper Systems now, which is probably the biggest division within Barry Wimmeler, so we are testing everything in Paper Systems. But also inside Paper Systems, we have hundreds of suppliers as well as customers. And at the end of the day, we have created something what we call an integration layer. And that integration layer has the role of that you link in all these different systems independent. We talk about our own systems, simply where new systems are showing up in the group simply due to acquisitions of new companies. So we have anyhow every time the same challenge, that there's a new IT system with a new set of data, new format of data, where we have to find a way how to involve these data into our daily business. And that's the same challenge as with suppliers and with customers. So we developed that piece of software where we link in other systems to receive the data, to normalize the data, and to provide the data within what we call single source of truth across the organization. That we have one spot where independent what ERP system we are using, independent what PLM system we are using, independent what might be the ERP system of tomorrow, that we have one single spot where all data are in, and that we are able to work with these data across applications and across limitations of a very fragmented landscape of applications. So it's lowering our costs, and it makes us less dependent to certain applications as well as certain data hubs.
So you're not standardizing on ERP, PLM system level, but on integration level?
On data level at the end of the day. What we are doing is, I don't know what are the systems of tomorrow, but to have the flexibility to be independent, what are the systems of tomorrow, that I'm independent what system is a supplier using or a customer using. So to have the big picture of the future IT, I have no idea what are the specifics. Due to this, we came up with the idea to develop that layer to be independent and to have one database below where we are working with InterSystems, which is a US database manufacturer, and they have a multidimensional system which is called Iris, what we're using, due to the speed and due to the opportunities to have that centralized hub of all data. It's a huge challenge, but I think it's, and I'm convinced about that, that will make our future life far easier, especially when we talk about new acquisitions.
So you've built an integration layer.
Yes.
I understand that's a custom-built Java system.
Yes.
So how did you approach that? How did you source that? How did you develop that? What was the approach?
We have the same challenge like any other company on this globe as well. We have something which is called daily business, and we have the project business. So that's a challenge itself. Traditionally, when you talk about new things, especially when you, from the second you have convinced the business is trying to give you the people which have time. But these are not the people you need. You need the people which do hurt the business because of their skills, because they are essential for the business. So after fighting with the business that we got the right resources, we have developed that product with a local implementation partner, which is located in Berlin, as well as with our workbench, what we have in the Ukraine. Simply due to the fact, or why Ukraine, it's simply due to the fact that they're extremely high educated people. Culture is very close to, in brackets, what I would call our culture. And so with those parties together, we have developed that product. And meanwhile, we have the product at a stage where we really do use it. So we really work with that right now. And the results are better than what I expected. So talking about speed. So for an example, taking a huge bunch of records, analyzing the records, checking for duplicates, normalizing the data, we talk about milliseconds. So it's really fast.
So it's a real-time, operational, unified, standardized data platform.
And that's yeah, and exactly you name it, and that's one of the most important things for us is when we talk about data warehouses, when we talk about data lakes, it's always a look back. Because from the second you create the data, it takes 1 hour or 10 hours, or it's a night run or whatever, and then you have a dashboard which is showing you a status which was 12 hours ago. We talk about something where we want to have the same information in real time. And that is the reason why we have created also that layer which is taking from the productive systems, independent if we talk about SAP or XA or whatsoever, taking the data on regular basis into that centralized hub. And then from the second I want to query that, I do that like this on real-time data. Which means we're able to provide the business not only real-time data, but in the next stage what we would like to achieve is to combine it with artificial intelligence. That the system is telling our people, based on the data you have right now, I propose the following next steps. And this doesn't work for me with data which are 10, 12, 24 hours old. That's one of the additional reasons why we have created that type of technology. So
InterSystems is the database, custom developed Java is the integration layer, and then I guess you have a presentation layer as well.
Yes, and there we are currently working on Salesforce. Salesforce, for most people, they call it a CRM system. It's not for me a CRM system. Salesforce is for me a platform. And a platform is for me something which is extremely important because I want to provide users one user interface instead of 10 of different applications. And most people do have a platform already in their pocket, so-called mobile device. Independent if you talk about Apple or you talk about Android, you have always dozens of applications which are sharing the same environment. That's for me a platform, and Salesforce is pretty much the same. So from the second we have a user interface available or processes available on Salesforce, immediately we can use it on a mobile device. And what we did is working with the business together about the processes of the future. The important step for us is not to copy the processes of the past only into new technology. That's not the idea behind. Because digitalization is the very unique chance you have maybe once in your lifetime to question everything, to question all processes. And that's a learning curve. And when we went with the business through that, that was a really painful process because people need to question things they did over the last 2 decades in a certain order. And now you tell them, let's forget that. Let's try it in a different way. And then you take the people from various departments, in our case from all these global locations, we take the people together. So some are responsible for European market or German market or wherever, and others are responsible for the North American markets or South America or whatever. And now they have to find an aligned process. And believe me, that's a painful process for everybody, for each and everybody. And it takes a long time. And the second learning curve is that you find out in how many different systems of your fragmented landscape you have similar information saved, like an address. It's in an ERP system, it's probably in a CRM system, it's with extended information probably in Outlook and wherever. And you have to maintain all these data in different systems. And you find out how crap your data are. And sometimes you wonder how you did survive with that type of data. But that's a real learning curve for the business, because at the very beginning they said to us, listen, it's spare parts business. We know this up and down and left to the right, and nobody can explain us something about spare parts business. But when you talk then to customers, what is your happy world scenario of future spare parts business? Talking to us as your supplier of the spare parts, they come with complete different ideas around the corner, and things which are logical, like we had a huge customer from Austria who told us, listen, I do not want to wait until you send us spare parts. I want you guys to shoot in a drawing into my steel 3D printer, which I want to purchase from you guys, which is again a different business model. I want to print that part, I build it in until the original part arrives. Future business. Cool idea. And we have to take control about these things or to offer those services to our customers. Otherwise, why should they purchase from us spare parts in the future? And that's not only our challenge. You can look to automotive. It's the same like us. A major part of the revenue is done by spare parts. So if now everybody can print own spare parts, that's a game changer.
That will be huge.
Yes. So we have to take care about that, which means I cannot forbid a customer, you are not allowed to print it, because honestly, he can do that. He can do that without asking us. I mean, you purchase a scanner, a 3D scanner, then you have the model, then you make 2, 3, 4 test prints, and you will find out a way how it's working. But the game changer is that people like you and me, and at least I'm not an engineer, that I'm now able to produce spare parts. And I can sell those spare parts certainly at a complete different price than we are able to do that, or customers are able to do that by themselves. So which means I have to create new business models with the support of IT, which ensure best possible service to our customers. Which means if I give him the happy world scenario, not talking only about the spare parts, but for an example, that our artificial intelligence is telling our people from the field service or spare parts business, hey, contact customer XYZ because the operational hours are already exceeded. Maybe you can offer him something different. Or to treat a customer in a way that when he logs into our systems, that the system is not only recognizing who is it, but also what is the area of interest. So if a technical person is logging in, the system is providing him technical information, self-service information and things like this. If it's someone from the purchase department, we give him the special offer. And that is what I call to have ecosystems and IT which is focused on customer needs and suppliers' needs.
So it's the service level, it's the customer experience that will make a difference.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
otherwise everybody can 3D print your
Absolutely.
parts.
You have to invite the customer. You have to provide a service level where even if one of these service levels fails because the customer is able to do that in the future by himself, that the rest of the range of services is that big so that the customer says, I have no reason to change.
Mm-hmm.
Apple, you can complain about the pricing, but the service level is that high, and that's my own experience. I had twice in my life the chance to deal with the Apple hotline.
Mm-hmm.
And the service is that damn good that I really said to myself, whatever price they request, it's okay because of that service what they offer.
Yeah. Now, you're the global IT director.
Yes.
I understood you travel 150 times a year.
I travel a lot, yes.
You travel a lot. Tell us how is IT and digital organized in BW Paper Systems?
Good question. I think we are like most other companies in that way. So at the very beginning we have been full of enthusiasm, and we set up our own digitalization team. We take the best people from the business, and then we start rocking really everything and building up the future landscape. Meanwhile, after all these sprints we have initiated, so we have an agile development. We have a core team of people of the business which is really working with us, and they're investing a lot of time, and it was a learning curve for them as well for us. And meanwhile, we have now people from different parts of the world working with us together on different projects, what we call the phase one. Mm-hmm. So one part of these projects is, for example, that first time in history, all our warehouses are connected in the way that we are able to query all data across warehouses in real time. A second project is that we have a 360-degree view on a customer, that our salespeople, that our field service people, that our spare parts people have at all time updated information about the customer. Because whatever someone is doing with a customer, it's automatically linked to that customer. Mm-hmm. So which means we have a track record of, independent if we talk about chat, about an email, about a phone call, about a visit or whatsoever. Then we have connected spare parts where we want to ease and to digitalize the spare parts business with customers. And so we have identified 5 business-driven projects and 2 technical-driven projects where we have the business involved as well as the IT involved. And at the end of the day, it's not a technology question. We talk about a change process, and the change process starts here. Mm-hmm. So you have to take the people with you to explain them again and again and again how to question things different. And then we spoke to customers, we spoke to suppliers to find out what is their opinion. So we involved them from the day number 1 to not to develop something or not to design something where people would say afterwards, nice colors, but nobody needs it. So to ensure that we do something what the business really needs, we invited each and everybody from the beginning. But it's a hard process.
Yeah, but you have IT teams around the world.
Yes. And
then you have a central or development team in Ukraine, is that correct?
We have our major implementation partner is a company in Berlin. Mm-hmm. And we have what we call always our workbench, which is in the Ukraine. Knowing these people a long period of time and knowing their skills, and they are working with us on the more deep technical things because they don't need them to talk to the business, because that would create probably barriers, A, of time difference talking to the US, and B, lack of understanding of the business processes. And so we have our partner in Berlin. They are deeply involved with our business people as well as with our IT people. Mm-hmm. And and that's a good thing, taking our own IT people with them on that journey to develop with new technologies, develop in a new environment, developing with new processes, where we talk about Agile, for an example. Mm-hmm. And we brought these people up to one place more than once to create a team. And it took some time, but meanwhile, they act as a team. Meanwhile, they work as a team, independent where they are located.
Mm-hmm. Because I can imagine that's a challenge.
It is.
They're all over the place, all over the world.
And it is. But meanwhile, Of course, there are good days and bad days, and it's like in any type of business relation or private relation. There are also days where they really start fighting to each other, but meanwhile they're really acting as a team, and it gets better and better.
Yeah.
And so we are increasing speed by that, because now it's the same like if you build a house, you start with the cellar. So I think the cellar, we have a pretty good basement now. Now let's make the rest of the rooms and the other floors. But it's essential that you have a basement where you can really trust on, where you can really build the future on. And I think that basement we have right now.
Okay. So you work here now almost 3 years. Did you have to make a lot of changes in the way IT is organized here?
For the daily business, I think Paper Systems is pretty good organized in a way that, like with other companies I know, it's sometimes a wonder what type of things people do accept or simply take it as given or written in stone, what you would never normally accept. I'll give you one example. 2 decades, it was not possible to query data across the warehouses. And people said, well, if I need to know what's in Italy in the warehouse, I call them. There is a phone. And people took this as granted. That's the best possible process, because I never questioned it. So we have minor changes in daily business. We still do try to support daily business when they need customization of software product A, B, or C. But honestly, we are most focused on developing the future, because I truly do believe that it's my role, or also my role, to build the roadmap to the future in a more and more digitalized world, where market changes are coming and customer requirements are changing faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
And with the current IT what we have, we are certainly not able to follow that.
Could you put a percentage on the resources that go in to keeping the lights on and into developing new functionalities?
Yes, I would say 70% are focused on keeping the lights on, and 20-30% are focused on the next level, talking about IT resources.
Yep.
Talking about business resources, we have I think the good people and the right people working with us on the processes of the future. And so part of the deal was that we start that digitalized journey with good people, but with a small team, because honestly nobody had a real understanding digitalization, what does it mean at the end of the day? Talking about our senior leadership teams, meanwhile they're getting better and better into the picture and understanding more and more what it does or what it could be, but at the very beginning everybody was very skeptical. So I think now for the next phase, which starts in September, I think we have far better support than we had in phase number 1, because we first had to show the people that all the things we're talking about are really existing and are really possible. And
you had to deliver on your promises first.
yes,
Okay.
I think, and I honestly do understand that. I mean, when you go to the president of an organization and tell him, listen, all the things you did in the last years, we can do it far better in a complete different way, then it's already lucky when he still continues to listen to you. And I think I was really a pain for them, but that's my job.
And so you're part of the global management team then? How is that? How is the alignment with IT and business organized?
We have a global board of IT directors where I'm a part of, and these are 5 global IT directors. And so I think IT-wise we are the highest level, and talking about the future setup. But even within that group, it was really, really a long journey to convince them to do things different, because it's a different, I think, or the difference makes it, if you're working for decades in the same organization, it's very difficult for you to come with an outside view to the same organization. And others are completely drawn in their daily business, so trying to convince them, have a look to it from a different angle is difficult for them. But I can live with having different opinions, and I can live with not believing in things until you are convinced about it, and it takes time. But it's it's a headache for myself sometimes, because you're talking to people where you believe, hey, it's IT world, and it's difficult to explain again and again and again the same things. On one hand, as I said, I do understand it, but most important for me is that the collaboration with the colleagues is very trustful. So we can have different opinions, we fight about different opinions, but it's a fight and with fair weapons and under normal circumstances, so it's okay. I know that they only will listen when we go live, and then they will see what's possible, and then it will tell me, you never explained to me it that way.
Yeah. So how would you describe your currently your fundamental role in the organization, and how do you think it will evolve in the coming years?
I think currently my role is always, I think, to put the finger into the wounds and to question things again. And I think that's currently my role, because I have an outside view, and I could put myself very easy in a position of a third person. And what I try to deliver is to give the so-called Amazon feeling to our customers and suppliers and to our employees. And to give them something where they can easily be more successful with. And that is what I want to achieve. And to do this, it took me more than 2 years to convince our own people at least to start. And it's a long fight, and that's one of the reasons for my gray hair. And but I think it's worse, and I don't see myself in a role that I'm responsible to keep the lights on. It's part of my responsibility, yes, but honestly, I have to build an IT for the next generation. And I do not understand people which are sitting back and saying, okay, I'm the CIO or global director or however you want to call it. So we have SAP, we have XA, we have whatsoever called system or systems, and I'm happy with that. And I do not think a second about what could be if I do that in a different way. That's not the way how it could work, and that's not what is satisfying me.
So you're driven by change? It excites you to change things?
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I'm driven. I don't do things because of a cool technology. I mean, I'm a native IT person, and I of course I like cool technologies. But as long as there's no business value behind, it makes no sense to play with that and to use it. So first focus is the business value, because that's not only paying my salary, it's also paying the salary of all of my colleagues.
Yep.
And if we want to be the number one in the market, and we want to be a serious big player in the market, then I have to think about what could support the company in the best way. And if I support the company in the best possible way, then I did my job hopefully good. And if I do the same for my suppliers and for my customers, then I hopefully make the best possible job. That's driving me.
Yep. How easy is it to attract and build successful teams for you?
Difficult question, because every company is stating we have the best possible culture, we have the best possible environment to build up your own career. Nobody will ever tell you, listen, if you come to us, honestly, we are not different than others. And when I see, for example, advertisement in magazines or on the internet, then we are like others stating we are a global player, we are this good, that good. That's the reason why we are looking for you. Coming again, where I'm a pain in something, I tell the people, why don't we make it different? That we say, hey, we are not good in this and that and that, and here we are bad as well, but that's the reason why we're looking for you. So, and we have a leadership style. Management is not the word usually we are using. We have a leadership style which is mostly driven by the CEO of the organization called Bob Chapman, and he calls it truly human leadership. And at the end of the day, everybody can check that on the internet. Just go to YouTube and search for Bob Chapman. The way that he setting up the leadership culture is that we have a very open-minded culture, which means it's far easier to hire people than, for example, to fire people. So people have a very trustful environment, and for example, I know a couple of people which in other organizations, due to, for example, they've been responsible for a certain department or unit or I don't know what, something went wrong, and I know more than one organization where that would be your last day. Not in Barry Wimmeler. In Barry Wimmeler, they try to find 24 different ways how to give you a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth chance. Does this work for everybody? Do I agree with all persons which are under that umbrella? Certainly not. But in general, I think it's a cool thing because it's giving you the opportunity to try out things. And if you fail, so that certainly nobody wants to fail, but it does not mean automatically that you are killed. I think that the culture which is created is it's a culture I like. So the challenge is now, if you write that down on the internet, you write that down in a magazine, you write that down somewhere else, and everybody would say, like I did at the beginning, hey, nobody is saying we are bad. I can only invite people to find out if that is completely nonsense, what I'm telling you now, yes or no. But what I personally like, for example, is we have a very different culture in how we address, for example. That's a typical way how we address. So no, I think I never seen someone in a suit, and the clothes does not make a leader here. So even the presidents have trousers, jacket, shirt, but you recognize people due to the clothing. So on every airport I am, or I find people from paper systems or from any other division, and I recognize them by the clothing. And we have a very open-minded culture. So I think
it's no nonsense, open-minded, and very human-centric.
It's no nonsense. It's really human-centric culture. That's one of the reasons why it's a culture people development. CPD is a name what others call HR. So we have an own university, the Berwemele University. It starts with communication training, so that you listen, how to communicate. It doesn't mean automatically that I follow these rules each and every day and every minute, but we have a training which is trying to provide a similar understanding of how to interact with other humans inside Berwemele. And that's something which is, I think, really positive because it ensures you that you are on the same communication level with colleagues, wherever they are, higher, lower, whatever. And I think that's positive. At the end of the day, we have the same challenges like all other enterprises as well, is how to find the people for tomorrow. I mean, we checked out, for an example, and I can only talk now about IT, that we have an age structure where key people or a huge bunch of key people is leaving the organization due to retirement within the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years. So we have to find a solution for that. So on one hand, we have now the challenge that we have to collect knowledge. So the question is, how do I collect knowledge in the organization? How do I structure that knowledge? And how can I make that knowledge available for the next generation? And then comes digitalization again into the game. If I already collect knowledge, why don't I use the same knowledge to give additional value-added services to my customers as a self-service? Because to enable a customer when there is a machine down and we know the symptoms, why not to provide him a self-service, push the following 5 buttons and pray, and probably it's working again. Why not to use the same source of information, not only for our own people, but also to customers? And so that's one of the initiatives we are currently working on, and which means in both directions. On one hand to collect knowledge, on the other hand to provide that knowledge to customers. But second point is, of course, that we need to educate people in a way for the future. And then it's a big question, what is the future? Is it our standard systems, which we have today in use? Or is the future what we're currently building? Or is the future a mix of it, because I have to lead it from the current environment to the future environment? That is the reason why I want to initiate collaboration with big universities, that we train people to a certain degree what we need to talk in diamond industry, to take a rough diamond and to cut and to polish it until we have the guy or the person we need skill-wise, and then to provide them a future. And I think that's also part of a change process, that you think about how do you win the next generation, which is not only culture-wise following you, but also from technical point of view, that they're able to lead the organization into the next age. So, and that's another challenge. So if you ask how do we find the next people, I think we have to educate them by ourselves.
Okay.
Because the markets are extremely empty.
Yeah. So you talked about the, let's say, leadership style of the company. Let's talk about your style. I mean, you worked in furniture, diamond business before. How was your leadership style there, and has it changed working here? I mean,
no, I think I have a very simple. I think I have two simple reasons, or two simple methods, not reasons, but two simple methods. So one thing is, I don't take myself really too serious. I like to laugh, I like to make jokes with people, independent if they are high level, low level, whatever, I don't care.
You like to drink beer, play music?
We have beer, that's the difference between the two of us. So, but, yes, and music of course as well. So that's one point, and honestly, I try to treat people in the same way I want to be treated. So it's why to make there any difference? I want to have them as colleagues, and there is a very simple experience what I made over the last 2-3 decades is when you want people to walk with you the extra mile when it's necessary, because there's time pressure, project is next to the end, you need to work an entire weekend, for example, they only do that as a payback the way you have dealt with them before. So, and I have a very simple way of acting with that. So life is always given and taken. So if someone is staying with a team over a weekend, they're really pushing it to the maximum, that something is done, then send them home for 2 days, but don't request them to give you a request for vacation or something like this. Simply send them home. So I try to do it by gut feeling. And we have that's maybe something different. When you begin with Berwemela, then most of the people make a disk profile check, which is that. And for example, some offices in the US, when you enter the office, you see next to the door the disk profile of that person where you're entering. Would be difficult with GDPR, but they do that by themselves. And so you know what type of person is there. And so one of the results of my disk profile was a high I, so emotional person, which I certainly can confirm. So I do that by guts feeling. I don't follow that rules that I say someone is acting in that way, so I have to act another way or in a certain way. I do that by guts feeling. Yeah.
So you're a people person?
Certainly, yes.
So you deliver by making other people successful? Is that your way to
You can only win
success?
as a team. As a single player, I mean, what is Messi without his team? Nothing. Or Ronaldo? Nothing without the team. So you only win as a team. So independent what position you have in the team. Or to you just mentioned it, coming to music. Take an orchestra. So classical orchestra. He has a conductor. Usually he plays one instrument, probably two. But each and everybody in that orchestra plays certainly the individual instrument 100 times better than he does. But he's the one who knows how it should sound at the end of the day. Take me in that position. I know what I want to achieve. I know how it should sound. And I need now the people with the specific skills where I can try to support them, where I can try to guide them. But I know the big picture and I know exactly how it should sound. That's, I think, that's
Is that how you look at yourself, that you're the conductor of this part of the business?
I think, yes. So I think what has changed from my point of view in the IT is, in earlier days, IT was never in the driver's seat. IT was always the deliverable department where you can complain about when your computer is not working, and by the way, the figures are wrong, so it must be an IT error. Everything was an IT error. And IT and finance was always the cost center view. And still today we have setups where the CIO reports to the CFO, which is from those old days. I'm truly convinced about the point that IT can and should be a revenue contributor. I think we can do far more than just to keep the lights on. And we can deliver services where people are willing and able to pay money for. And that is my understanding of IT.
Okay. Let's talk a bit more about your personality type. So we're using the Myers-Briggs, the MBTI personality profiles as a common thread in these conversations. Your MBTI profile is you're an ENFJ. So E, you're extrovert, that shows off. N, you're more look at the big picture than at the details. F, you're a people person, emotions are important. And J is you have strong opinions and you put them through and once you make a decision. All in that together is an NFJ, also known as the protagonist or the giver. They're enthusiastic, supportive, and action-oriented people. Strong leaders with a clear idea on how to improve organizations to better serve the needs of people. How does that sound?
It's me. Sounds good. So that's the result of the test I made, I guess.
So ENFGs are confident in their mission, often balance their goal orientation with a focus on interpersonal process. They see cooperation, want others on board in action and spirit, and they often take on a mentorship role, and they like to help their employees develop as workers and as people. Are you a good mentor to your people?
I hope. At the end of the day, you have to ask the people, but I hope I am. At least, I think in the past and also right now, I think good to join teams and to achieve success together. So, and that's for me something important, that the people are sharing the vision, that the people know why they are doing that. Yeah. And that's for me really important. They need to understand what we want to achieve together. And it's never me, Nino, who's doing that. It's always the teams where we're working with, because I really do share that opinion, or the comparison to football. You can be called Ronaldo, but if you have nobody who is giving you the right pass in the right moment, then what? Yeah.
So, what I wonder you travel so much. Yeah. You clearly work very hard. So how do you manage your family life? You have family, daughter.
I am managed.
How do you how do you manage that? And how do you cope with the stress that comes with the job?
I'm doing that for a really long time now, many years, and I think I can. What I'm able to is when I'm coming home, independent now if it's today when I'm driving home or when I'm coming after 10 days home from the US. When I'm home, it takes maybe an hour, and then I'm at home. So I can easily switch from business thinking back to private thinking, and vice versa. I don't know why. Probably one of the reasons is that I don't see work. I think work is a part of my lifetime, and it's a part of hobby. I like the things what I'm doing. It's not for me that I have to stand up in the morning and say, shit again, now you have again this job. Of course there are tasks I hate. Ask me to create a budget, that's really something I hate. But I think I have passion for the things I'm doing, independent if it's now work or music or family life. It's what I'm doing, I try to do with 100%. It doesn't work always with 100%, but at least I try. And I don't have to push myself, because these are the things I love and I like.
What's your favorite way to unstress, let's say, or to relax?
Music.
Music.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what do you do with music?
I take my piano. Best thing for me is I take my piano, sit at the piano, or I just go to Spotify or whatsoever, take my headphones, switching on Spotify or whatever type of music, listen to music, having a glass of wine in front of me. 10 minutes later, I'm the most relaxed person on this planet. Whatever happens. It's like switch on off. Same when I'm sitting at the piano, it's switching on off, it's relaxing immediately. In earlier days I was diving a lot, just taking a bottle, jumping into the pool, laying on the bottom of the pool, independent if it's 2 meters or 5 meters or whatsoever. Being there half an hour, you are the most relaxed person in the world. So for me it's easy to relax. So when I'm traveling back from the US, sitting in a plane, I'm starting already going back into private mode. So when I'm arriving in Frankfurt, I'm already most probably back in private mode.
Okay. So maybe a bit of an off-topic question, but what is it about music? Because music is something special. And I've always asked myself the question, why is it that music is something so special? So what is
It
it?
triggers strings in everybody.
Mhm.
So it's independent what type of music. I never met a person in my life where music has no impact at all.
Mhm.
Or that is a completely non-emotional person, which I never met. But I cannot imagine that there is no music at all which triggers you, independent if it's R&B or if it's jazz or soul or techno or I don't know what. There are music styles where I've honestly, it's difficult for me to understand, okay, what drives it, but there are enough people which do like it.
Mhm.
And I think music is always a trigger. And there's nothing where you can, at least from my point of view, express more emotions with than music. But if you ask a painter, he would explain you exactly the same with
Yeah.
paintings. I do not understand it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
You told me that you also compose
Yeah.
and that you have quite a long background in composing, and you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
When I was a kid, I was growing up in Cologne, and my best friend, who's today a real well-known musician and singer in Cologne, his father was teaching us piano and then teaching us jazz and teaching us how to arrange music and all these things. So for me, it was the best school on earth because we had always a kind of competition in between of us, but he's far more talented than I am. And nevertheless, it was a kind of competition, and it's really impressive for young girls. And so that was driving us. So
That's a good motivation.
it's the best motivation you can imagine. So when you are 14 and 15 and you know you go to a piano and you can at least play most of the things, you just hear it and you can play it, then it's a bridge to a lot of female hearts. And that is what I recognized pretty early.
Yeah.
And that's a huge motivation.
On a personal level, what are for you the most important values in life? What is it? You have a daughter. What is the values that you want to give to your daughter?
Family is for me the biggest value, because sooner or later there comes a day when, for example, your parents are gone. And my mother-in-law, for example, she died far too early, and it was the first time that I had that impact that close to me. And that you, from one second to the other, you still have the number in your mobile device, but you can dial it, but nobody picks up. And so there have been a couple of things where I said by myself, wow, everything has an end. Also that, and that was driving me, for example, to have far closer contact to my parents. I mean, honestly, I don't know one person where parents could not be sometimes a really difficult thing. But at the end of the day, there comes the day you will miss it. And family has, for me, certainly the highest value of all. So there's nothing which comes even close to that. So, and which means it has for me, it's for me the most important thing.
Yeah.
And where everything compared to this is less important. The second thing is health. So I was really a strong smoker, and my wife was quitting smoking, and I continued to smoke. And then she said to me, in the future, when you are already dead, then I will travel across the globe. I will make cruises, I will go to the United States, I will go to Canada with a camper, I will do all these things. Unfortunately, you are dead then. She made that a couple of times, and then I told her, listen, I'm tired of that, because I didn't want to have, I didn't want to make her all the cruise alone, so point number one. Point number two was that I was thinking by myself, if she was able to quit, why shouldn't I? And so I told her, listen, we do that in the following way. I take something to drink in front of me, I take my music. Last evening I smoke, but I can drink whatever I want and how much I want, so I did. Next day I stopped. So that's now three and a half years ago. And so family, health, in that order, everything else you can manage.
Yeah. When are you happy in your job? Because I mean, it's easy for you to relax, I understand. You're driven by people and making an impact. When you go home at the end of the day or you fly back, and you say, well, now I'm really...
When we are successful. So for an example, when we have, I mean, each project has certain milestones, and when we achieve a milestone and we are really convinced, yeah, that's exactly the right thing we did, or when we get a confirmation that the vision is right. That, for an example, I had that with suppliers when suppliers told me, Nino, whatever you're dreaming about, we have that already. Then I started to dig into the details and found out that was purely marketing. They had nothing. But when now those suppliers are coming back, and I had that 2-3 weeks ago, where a really big supplier came back and told me, now we understood what you're dreaming about. Yes, we want to join. Yeah. That is for me success. When we achieve milestones which are really confirming that we're on the right way, then it's success, and that makes me happy. Yeah. But on the other hand, you have fails as well, things where you say,
so let's talk about your most brilliant failure. You're in business for IT business for 27 years, different companies. What is your most brilliant failure that you're ever responsible for, and what did you learn from that?
Well, never ask my question that. I had a couple of failures. I think I was pretty young. I was about 26, 27, and I was responsible to develop a product for home banking that was from Sparkassenverbund in Germany, and that was in Cologne. So I designed the product, and I designed the things which I was believing that's the future of home banking. And we talk about the 80s, so it was a completely different world than what we have today. And I had already in mind to do that via a mobile phone. And I had my first mobile phone, which has nothing to do with a smartphone of today.
It was like a block like this.
Yes, you could kill someone with that phone. But I had already in mind to develop something which is mobile, that you can do banking from wherever you are. And I proposed it, I made a design concept, I made everything, and I proposed it to the people of the bank, and they told me that's complete nuts, that will never come. And yeah, they have been wrong. But I had already that idea at that time, and the other idea I had already far before it started was to have a game where thousands of players are able to play online. And we had not the technology for that, but I was dreaming about that, creating that. And so talk to people even from IT people which I knew at the time, but A, no technology, and B, nobody was sharing that idea. Today it's normal business, and you can do, I mean, have a look to Warcraft, they are making millions, or have a look to Red Dead Redemption, they made 1 billion revenue within 4 weeks. So I was always, sometimes I really have the feeling that I'm sometimes ahead of the time, but it doesn't mean that it's always good. You can be with the right product at the wrong time on the market, could be even too early, and then it's a fail. And we had that in the furniture industry, for example, when we wanted to automate processes completely, that you as a customer and you order and you have real Amazon feeling because you're ordering from home, that was too early. And we developed it completely, it was available, but it was too early.
So Nino, these interviews are being watched by many people in IT and abroad, also by aspiring future CIOs, future digital leaders. You as a successful CIO, what would your advice be to these younger people?
I would always advise, independent if it's IT or business, to question things, not taking anything as written in stone, not taking anything taken as granted. Question things. Put yourself simply in the position that you ask yourself, what would be the happy world scenario, for example, to purchase something or to sell something or to have a certain process. Just have a look to your own daily business and take a pencil and imagine this is a magic wand. If it's a magic wand, what would I change? And then if you have that described, then only in the second or third step think about how could it be realized? What type of technologies are necessary? But don't stop thinking about that thing when you say, okay, technology doesn't exist. That's wrong. for most things you will find a technical solution afterwards, but first you need to have the vision. And what I wonder always, and that's probably my second advice, is that people think in very isolated boxes talking about digital worlds. I mean, if you have a web shop, that's not digital world. It's only a web shop. It's a sales channel, nothing more, nothing less. But if you want to have new business, I mean, digitalized business, then you need far more than only the web shop. You need the processes in front of that and behind that. And so take a starting point and let it grow from that moment in all directions. And don't make it stop as a border of a department. Don't stop at the border of the company. Think beyond that.
Yeah.
That would probably be my advice.
Is there anything in this conversation that we had that you still wanted to add? Anything that we haven't discussed about it, and you wanted to share to people looking at this?
The funny thing is, since there was that announcement that I'm one of the finalists, I had more than one company contacting me via LinkedIn.
That's good.
Yeah, but asking for advice, and that's the interesting thing. So it's of course you have also these companies which are trying to offer you something, whatever type of product. And again, I always see there are a lot of products which are very isolated part of the entire chain, but there are really a lot of companies asking for advice, which shows me that most companies are aware of the fact that they have to do something, but they have no idea what.
Yeah.
They don't know it, and they have no vision, they have no imagination.
No.
And that has nothing to do with technical skills. And that is at least my learning curve now over the last couple of months since I was appointed as one of the finalists.
So the last question is, I mean, as a digital leader, and you say this, I mean, it's a quite a challenging role. It's also a very interesting role to play. But how do you make sure that you keep on top of latest developments? How do you learn? Because there's so much out there, and things change so quickly. What are your ways to keep on top of things?
First of all, I stay in contact with people where I do believe that they're very innovative. So I try also to learn from others and the way how they question things. The second is, of course, I read a lot, and then I see if I can imagine if that could have an impact to our industry or probably to other industries like e.g. 3D printing. And so it's a continuous learning. I mean, since I was done with my studies, you continue to learn and to learn and to learn, because we are in a very fast developing market and industry. And so every couple of weeks there are new technologies raising up and new processes and new ideas. And you have to take all these different pieces of information and to see how they fit into your own understanding. Do you believe in that technology, or do you believe in that trend, yes or no? And you can only hope at the end of the day that you're right.
Yeah. You're an active member of CIOnet as well. How important is the community for you, and how much do you learn from your colleagues?
It's extremely important. I mean, it's the same like I said at the beginning. I don't believe that you survive alone. You need collaboration with suppliers and customers, and it's the same in acting as a CIO. You need the information exchange with others. Otherwise, stay at home. So really, it makes no sense. You need input from others, and you need to provide input. And also there, follow the rules. Life is given and taken. So sometimes you get good ideas, sometimes bad ideas, and sometimes you give a good advice to people, sometimes you give a bad advice. But I think the information exchange is extremely important. And so I'm really thankful for the existing of CIOnet, and what differs CIOnet, and that's now not a marketing show, but my truly and honest understanding is that it's not a real online virtual network. No, you see the people face to face, you meet them, and that's awesome. And that's really for me the most important thing, to have a personal relation, which is reflecting again my high I. So I need to have personal contact to people.
And with that, I would like to thank you, Nino, for this wonderful input and your ideas and your time. It was a pleasure being here with you in Frankfurt.
Thank you very much. For me, the first time in my life, such an interview. So yeah, really thankful.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.